And the rest of this presentation is just some things to keep in mind. Okay, versions. So by default, Replicator does not guarantee that the minor versions are kept in sync. And the reason is they might not be, so after unpublishing and republishing with minor versions enabled, they might not be incremented properly. Check-in comments are not replicated for minor versions if the document is checked in as a major version. Okay, so there's a bunch of these caveats, and you guys get full access to all of these slides after, so I'm not gonna, I won't read these to you. But just to keep in mind is, if you're looking at your versions from side to side, they may be a little bit different. Now, what I've seen some people do in the past is actually create another metadata field. If version is very important to them, is create another metadata field to keep track of the version across sites, so that they know that version 3 is still version 3, even if it might be tagged as version 3.1 on the destination. Okay. Okay, so we'll talk about upgrade strategy, and we're getting close to the end. Okay, so some of the strategies, I mean, are a coexistence approach. You can do a gradual approach, and you can do just everything at once. So there's no real preferred approach. There's no real best practice put forward by us. It's really based on what your requirements are, what your service level agreements are, and what your topology is, and your SharePoint version and Replicator version. Because for most of our major versions, we will replicate just fine between our own versions of software. So you can do a gradual approach and a coexistence approach, which we're going to talk about here. Okay, so coexistence, in just a normal hub and spoke architecture, you can see here that you have 6.x talking to 7.x, and that's fine. If you ever run into a reason where you can only update, this one side at the time, and you want to get upgraded, you can go ahead and do that. So those versions are backwards compatible. If there's ever a time where they aren't backwards compatible, you'll be told about it either in the release notes or support bulletin, stating that version 7 whatever and let's say 8 whatever aren't able to talk to each other. Okay. So in larger environments where, for example, where you want to do a gradual approach, which is how most people, I guess, tackle the problem if you have many farms, is you upgrade them as you can, so over a period of a couple of weeks. Now, of course, always recommend that you do get them all up to the same version as soon as you can. But if it's going to take you a few days or a week or a couple of weeks, it's going to be okay. You can do that. Okay, one of the features that we briefly talked about and that we're going to look through is the ability to do domain and user remapping. A lot of people don't have different domains, but for the people that do, we can actually do that full remapping. So, some of the just terminology is source and target user account. So to be able to do domain remapping successfully, you have to have either the same accounts or the same usernames on each domain, or you actually have to create a user mapping file so that we know that John Smith over here is really Barry Jones on the other side, okay? And all of those settings are started off by, in our configure web app screen, is just by enabling that domain remap. If you do have usernames that are the same on both sides, you can just use straight domain remapping by turning that on. And you just put in your local domain, and then on the other side you put in the local domain on that side. And if it runs into any users that it doesn't know about, it's going to remap those to the site collection owner, okay? Or your other option is to set up a user remapping table, okay? And it's pretty straightforward. The user remapping table, let's scroll past this here. Let's get to the example of the file. Okay, yeah, so simple enough. That user remapping table, all it is it's a simple XML file that specifies what the source domain and source username is, and then what the target domain, target username is. So it knows whenever it gets to that destination that we're looking for this user if this is the original user. Simple enough. And the format of the file, find that, is very straightforward. All these things go forward so slow. There we go. Okay. Is basically, you know, between two XML tags, user remapping, you have the old user, so source username, new user, target name. Or you can have old user in domain username format, new user domain username format. Okay. You could have both of these entries in here. You could have as many entries in here as you want. The thing to keep in mind is the first match that it finds is the one it's going to use. Okay. Let's move on. So an example, you know, Potoso Alpha, new user, John Doe. So all of these will just get, you know, evaluated and mapped. So let's go. And you can also use, you know, claims for classic claims. You can put in, as long as you have the right claims-based token in there. Okay, so that's for people that might be going to 2007 to, you know, 2010, where they have claims-based turned on. Okay, so for example, old user, you know, old format, domain username, and then on our new 2010 server, it's claims-based, so we have a claims token, username, domain username. Okay.